What are you in the top 0.1% of in the world? I have exploded 3 times, IED, old Soviet landmine, and a rocket strike on my gun truck. I don't think there's a lot of people who can say that who still possess all of their limbs. I am one of few with adults something called Harlequin syndrome. It's harmless, literally does nothing beyond making half my face get red and the other half not red. So when I'm really hot and sweaty, one side of my face will look like a tomato and the other half will look as if I hadn't been hit at all. Completely normal. There's only like 1,000 people in the U.S. who have it. I could only find stats for the U.S. so I don't know the worldwide numbers, but it's pretty rare. Maybe not 0.1% but close. Note: I mention adults because it's common in babies for the first week of their life, but it usually goes away. Discovered identical twin, separated at birth, raised in another country, me in our late 30s. People diagnosed with clinically definite MS who have a disability score of 0. Most people diagnosed with MS have at least some disability. For many it's low, but not 0, because the medication reduces the effects of the illness. For some, the medication does very little and they can be profoundly disabled. I was diagnosed and started medication in 2008. Since then my disability score has been checked every 6 months by my neurologist, and has always been exactly 0. I'm just one of the very lucky ones who responds very well to the medication. Survivors of pancreatic cancer. Edit. This blew up more than I expected. My story is on my profile. I counsel people going through this now. Please PM me if you'd like to talk. The best advice I can give is to go to a place that specializes in these types of cancer, like MD Anderson in Houston. There are several in the US. They have the best doctors, the best imaging equipment, access to more clinical trials, etc. I was given 6 months to live in my hometown. 6 years later, after chemo, radiation and Whipple surgery, I am going strong. My risk of recurrence started dropping at 2 years, and now the risk is less than 10%. Edit 2. People have said they can't find my story on my profile. I found it under my old username. Here is the link I posted at the 4-year mark.
https://www.rddi.com/r/pancreatic_UTM_me/ams43sf/my_undescore4_score year_email_core_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame_email_ame
a very restrictive diet. I am on all kinds of histamine blockers and still get histamine reactions that make me have to check out of life for at least half a day with no notice. It is so rare, there is no actual treatment plan for it, so it's a try it and see approach. 0.1% of people in the world who replied to this thread. I am one of like 5-10 people that are on regular call for golf architectural history. That combined with my knowledge of how to build and evaluate golf architecture in the field probably puts me into the 0.1% 1-minute bullet chess. And probably top 200 in the world over 50 years old. I am around 2,500 on Lichess. I had 7 wisdom teeth and all were taken out at one time. I qualify for height, but I'd say radio contest wins. I've won thousands of dollars in radio prizes. Anywhere from concert tickets worth hundreds of dollars to free beer. I was rescued from a sex trafficking situation by someone in that world, an extreme rarity in itself. Was very lucky to have the police and other agencies believe my story. They don't usually have much sympathy for someone sitting in front of them that's obviously on drugs and been doing sex work. Was saved 3 times by the police when the trafficker, his people came after me. Got clean, with only a couple of minor relapses, by myself while working on accepting what happened to me and that it was my perfect boyfriend who did it to me. accepting that my life was completely ruined, that I lost everything, that my dignity and confidence is no more, that my family preferred to victim blame and cut me off, that I was now destitute and wholly dependent on the government for my survival. It was harder than any beating or rape or other degrading thing I went through. Now I'm just a severely traumatized ex-junkie with a lifetime's worth of self-doubt, trust issues, anxiety and depression that no amount of therapy can fix. But I survived. Never looked back. And unless someone I love waves the drug I was mostly hooked on in front of my face, that part is over too. I know my story isn't all that special, but it's not something I often talk about, and from what I know, successfully getting out and getting clean is very rare, and I wanted to feel good about it. Ween listeners on Spotify, Yusuu Naito. I've met the same actor 3 times at 3 different points of my life despite not working in the film industry, so I gotta think I'm in the 1% of that occurrence. Edit. It was Leo DiCaprio. I can speak backwards. Say a sentence and I will say it backwards immediately. If you record me and play it back in reverse, you can hear your original sentence pretty well. I used to be one of the best Tetris player for a short time. I got into a Helldivers 2 server within the first 10 minutes of trying. My claim to fame? I am the only person on Earth that has or has ever had my given and surname. While I do have a middle name, it is unnecessary. How do I know? My dad's last name was common and of Polish origins. His parents emigrated to America from Poland. My dad was born about 10 years later in 1910. Both his parents died, 2 days apart, due to the 1918 pandemic. Dad was taken in by several foster homes, and when he turned 14, he applied for a work permit. According to the county clerk, Dad did not exist. But my dad knew his birth date, he knew the doctor who delivered him, and the clerk put 2 and 2 together and found a birth record with his scribbled name. The county clerk then wrote what he believed the scribble said, and that became his surname, but it was unlike any other name. So, all of his children were born with the made-up surname. At my age, mid-70s, I know every one of the 93 people who now share that made-up surname, and not a one of them has the same given name as me. The amount of data I crunched for the SETI at Home project. 5 quintillion floating point operations. Sadly, no evidence of a signal from intelligence from space. I was in the top 99.97%.